Hey, sixth graders, happy Friday. It is the last Friday of 2020. We're almost through this disaster of a year. So hang in there, finish strong, earn that break. Okay. Today, hopefully yesterday you did the reading. It was a great story. I loved reading it. It's a beautiful story. And God, I'd love to talk about this with all of you because it was awesome. But those of you that were with me yesterday, that's cohort A. You are at home today, so hopefully it'll spark you to think about things a little differently. Okay, so again, remind you, Jason Reynolds is our author. Yesterday, we read a chapter from Look Both Ways. Again, a story that all the chapters intersect. They literally connect. So the low cuts, they show up again all throughout this book. Today, here's what I want you to do. So for a few moments, what I want you to do is I would stop this video right here, and I want you to do this. Based on what you read yesterday, I want you to think about climbing into the head of the author. And I want you to think like, man, what do you think he's experienced? What is real in the low cut strike again? Which characters seem like they're real, or which life situations seem like they are based on real things? So I think about this in your reader's notebook. In the writing about reading section, I want you to open up and I want you to write down just now 5 things, maybe 10 if you can get to it, that you think like must be based on real things, based on what you read yesterday. What seems like, God, I'm sure that would, that seems like that makes sense. For example, if you remember, like they talked about the low cuts were free and reduced lunch, so their parents were struggling. They didn't have a lot of money. I bet the way he talked about free and reduced lunch, that Jason Reynolds probably was. I'm sure he experienced that. He must have, because most people don't even know what that is, but he did, and he put it in his story. So I bet my example, number 1, I'd write down that I think Jason Reynolds was on free and reduced lunch. I might also write down that I bet you Jason Reynolds, I bet he was one of the characters in the low cuts, but I don't think he was bit. I think he was John. Just because that guy was really well spoken, he was very calm. That seems like Jason Reynolds. So there's my 2. Like that's what I would put down, right? Jason, he must have been on free reduced lunch. I think for real when he was a student, and I think maybe John's based on him. So that's what I want you to do. Try to for 5 or for 10. All right. Stop the video and do that. Okay. After you've done that, you're back. I will tell you, it's kind of interesting. One of the things I read, he did this speech. He won a prize, a big time prize for his book, and he wrote this speech. And it says, in 2003, just 2 years before I would step foot in the industry, that's the writing industry, I was a college kid juggling a job, schoolwork, running around, reading poems, selling self-published books out of the trunk of my car, and doing the best I could to care for my mother, who at that time was engulfed in the flames of cancer. So if you remember, all the low cuts, they're all connected because all their parents have cancer. And I was thinking that too. I'm like, man, I bet you he's been through cancer. And sure enough, his mom went through it. So here he says, kiss her cheek, watch her try to smile through the nausea and the insecurity of now being without multiple parts of herself. Her children were gone. Parts of her body were gone. Her stomach flipped over, and so had her life. Weekend visits were a way to bring balance, to inject some sense of breath into a stranglehold for us both. That's a guy who knows about cancer. And that's the story that he wrote, has to be from a personal experience. So, all right. So now that you've done that, now we're going to do one more thing. This is an important thing. So I want you to open up a clean page in your reader's notebook. Okay. This is going to take around 10 minutes right here. I want you to title the page, What I Know About page. My What I Know About page. This is going to be a source for you for all year, if you want, of in putting things into stories that you know something about. So your step 1 is title the page, that, save it, make sure you can get to this again. And then step 2 is list as many things as you can that you can talk knowledgeably about. Okay, shoot for 10, and the more the better. And here's what I mean by this. Everything that has information that you could share with someone in a story, like more detailed information, like including things about life. All right, I'll give you some examples in a bit. So if I'm going to tell you about what I've experienced, I could tell you about going through cancer because I've been through it. I can tell you what chemo. I could tell you a story that would give you details about going through chemo. I could tell you details about being on a film set. I could tell you details about what it's like to be on a wrestling match. These are all things that I have as experiences, and I know them, so I could share them in a story. I want to know what you know at this point in your lives at about 11 and 12. Okay. Now, what I'm not interested in and what does not have information is telling me about that you like sleeping. No one really knows that much about sleeping unless you're a doctor of sleep. So unless you've had a really unique and special experience with dream analysis, or you've had trouble sleeping and you've been through a bunch of like tests and therapy, unless you're that person, don't really care about what you know about sleeping. That's not interesting enough. It doesn't really count for this. Also, here's the thing. Most people have a family, right? And it's some information they have. So I do think you know your family better, but I want you to be careful about putting down your family because a lot of people have families, right? If you have unique stories within your family, that's different. Like something really different, a relative or a family member who's very unique and different. Being bored. Don't care for you to write down being bored. Everyone knows about being bored. We don't care about that. That isn't something you need to share with someone. Unless you like have a clinical depression related to boredom, that's different. Boredom itself, don't need to write that down. No one really needs to know that you know a lot about being bored. And lastly, eating food. Like, here's the thing. If you just say you like food, so do a lot of people. Don't really need to know that. However, if you're interested in cooking or baking, or you want to like mess around being a chef, that's a different story. And if you really do understand different flavors and stuff, that's different too. That I'll listen to all day. But if you're just a regular person who just likes food, this is not what you put on this list. So, all right. So what does have information? Well, you could write down listening to music, but then the more detailed you get, which bands, which type of music, how do you listen, headphones or earbuds, that stuff you know about. You know the difference between why you wear headphones versus why you wear earbuds. If you don't know the difference, or you don't even know why you do it, then who cares? The stuff that you know about is stuff that you've experienced, that you don't, not just that you do. All right. Or like if you write down like to read, which books or authors, what types of stories, what does it feel like to read? If someone says, I love to read, well, I love to read, then I want to know like your experience. So what books specifically do you know a lot about? If you just say, I like all books, then is that really something you can talk about? Unless you can get into the details of something, you really don't know that much about it. So let me give you some examples, right? So if you ask me about listening to music, I love Arcade Fire, and I know that they have an accordion in their band. What type of music? I love hip hop, but I love hip hop with a melody, not just a beat. So the trap music of the 2000s, I don't care about that. I don't want that. I want a melody, a heavy beat, and like a melody that goes up and down and changes tone. And how do you listen? I have to use earbuds because I have cauliflower ear. I can't fit earbuds in my ears. That's from wrestling. It's deformed. So I need to wear headphones because it's the only way I can get sound into my ear. See? I know about listening to music. And in terms about reading, I read nonfiction about humans behave and how we evolve. And I love comics, especially Batman or big crossovers, like where all the heroes of the DC universe or the Marvel universe come together. And what kind of stories do you like? I like in comics, big world-ending event graphic novels, like big stories. And I love truths about humankind. I just literally read a story where I found out, like, as humans, like for a lot of our existence, like human Homo sapiens, we weren't that special. We really couldn't do that much. We were very unimpressive. It's only when our brains really developed that actually we became like cool and really changed the game for our Earth. So all that's about me. In fact, this would be Mr. Slaby's What I Know About page. These are all things that I would write down, right? And I got many more, but I can talk to any of you knowledgeably about any of these things. I know about working in the film industry. I can tell you what it's like to be on a film set. I know a ton about March Madness and college basketball. I can talk to you about movie theory, comic books. I know that I've been reading comic books for 35 years. I went to South Korea. I've been through cancer. I can tell you about what that feels like. I've worked on a farm. I've fished along a river. I can tell you about what kinds of baits work with which kind of fish. And I can tell you how speech evolved. That's my what I know about page. Yours should be similar. Okay, this would be a moment where you stop and do that. And lastly, this is the last thing I want you to do today, is I want you to free write for 20 minutes. And this is your charge. I want you to take a fictional character. I'm going to give you the name, Balthazar. I want everyone to work with the name Balthazar. And I want you to just free write a story where Balthazar walks through a typical day in your life. And you get to choose whether it's pre-COVID or present day, from wake up to sleepy time. So I want you to have your character go through your day. If you think present day during COVID sucks because it's boring, then do something that was before COVID. Go through a day when you came to school and you did soccer after school and then you had a certain dinner. And I want you to have Balthazar do the thing that you know about the most and show that you know this thing with details in your writing. So what I mean by that is, if you know the most about reading mystery novels, have Balthazar read a mystery and describe the experience of the details. If you know a lot about soccer, have Balthazar play soccer and then name the positions and who he's passing to, or she. Actually, Balthazar could be a name of anyone, gender. If you have Balthazar go through school, have Balthazar have specific friends that are that are your friends and have their personalities come up to Balthazar. If you have Balthazar eat food, describe how Balthazar moves through your kitchen and what kind of plates and what kinds of things that you experience, okay? And have Balthazar's parents be like your parents. Or maybe Balthazar's older. Maybe he doesn't have parents. So if I were to make an example, here's what I would do. All right, the alarm buzzes and rings at 4:45. That's when I wake up. It's still dark outside, and the window near Balthazar's head seeps cold air onto his cheek. That's real. He pushes the covers down and raises his body to a standing position. That's true. He hears his partner breathing deeply, undisturbed by his awakening. That's my wife. He leans down and pets his mutt, Gizmo. That's our dog. He nuzzles his nose on the curled up dog snout, kisses his fur, and says, "See you later, buddy." I did that this morning. After brushing his teeth, Balthazar moves downstairs quietly, not wanting to disturb their other dog, a tiny pup with boundless energy. That's Maisie, our puppy. He notices a Superman comic on the table. He never liked Superman. Batman always thought that Superman followed the rules too much. That's all true. Totally believe that. And Balthazar loved Batman. Today was a big day for Balthazar. It was the first day on a movie set with a new crew, and he had a nervous pit in his stomach. This is a very real experience for me, but it's Balthazar. So notice I know a lot about my life. I have a dog. I wake up at 4:45. Cold air comes into my window. I do love comics. I'm a Batman fan, and I'm about to go to a film set. So you know where my story's going. I'm going to walk you through the day on a film set. So that's what I want you to do. At the end of today, submit your writing either by creating a post in the assignment. So you create a post and you can write in there, or you could take a picture of your photo of your writing and just submit that for today. Okay, everyone? Whew. That's a lot of writing and thinking today. You need to work hard, get her done, and earn that break, because next Tuesday we're going to have some fun.